little badass, book badass. You little badass, you little badass, book club badass. Welcome to the show.
Hi. Cheersies.
Cheersies.
Hugs and kisses.
Hugs and kisses.
We're here.
We're here. Every time you say that, I want to say we're queer. I don't know why.
Maybe it's a setup.
Hello, everybody.
Hi, and welcome back
To the
Badass Book Club, baby.
podcast.
That's right.
Baby. I love it. We're on it today.
It's a different time. It's a new day, and we're happy
It's a
to be
new
here.
day. It's a new dawn.
Sing on.
Welcome. What are we doing first? Let's get into it.
Okay, honestly, let's just bite the bullet.
Oh, my word.
Friends
Okay.
and family and everybody else out there who has decided to join me on this journey.
Yeah.
Hugs and kisses. Are we still friends?
Okay, I think maybe you should get a suggestion for your next read from someplace else.
Please, in the comments, via text message, via
Instagram.
pigeon, tell me what to read that is not going to be historical fiction, have magic realism, or set in a different century. I mean, I
Okay.
guess that's historical fiction. Okay, so anyway, just please.
Or Pony Express.
Don't want to know anything that ever happened ever before in the past, to be honest. Send me a murder.
Futuristic murder?
Yeah,
I love it.
yeah, please.
Okay. All right, go for it.
So here we are in the Antidote. Spoiler alert, I'm not done. I read about 200 pages and we have 100 pages left to go, which I think will make for a really nice wrap-up conversation next week. I sat down last night and I thought to myself, where do I even begin? Karen Russell, thank you so much for your mind, your imagination, the storylines. There's so much going on. It to me feels like you threw a lot at the wall and everything stuck.
I was going to say, Ashley, it kind of sounds like when a parent, when you show them something you're really proud of, and they're like, I love all the effort that you did, and you worked really hard on this.
So much effort. And I read about your efforts, in fact. A lot of people put a lot of hard work into what we're reading, and for that, I commend you all.
Cheers.
Cheers. There is just so much going on. I think that this book is a good book. I think the writing is really good writing. I also think that this is the type of thing that personally I would have enjoyed reading over a really long period of time. There are just so many themes, so many tangents, so many individuals' stories and feelings and vivid descriptions that it's a lot to swallow in, a few days.
Ashley, is this one of those books where you read a page and then you get to the bottom and you go, oh, I got to read it again?
Mm-hmm. If you're not watching, my face is saying,
Oh, right. Yeah. Everything about Ashley is a right now.
Mm-hmm. I will even say I had a dentist appointment and my dentist is far away. So I thought, let's try a different medium. I purchased the audiobook. And it's fun in that there are different narrators. They're more like a character rather than just a narrator. So we've got Prairie Witch as one voice, Dell as another, Harp, who's a farmer, as another, and even a voice for the Scarecrow. So that's really fun. It's just, it became even more depressing hearing the actors in this case because really they are putting it on thick. Just giving us Dust Bowl era tone. So I actually listened at 1.2 speed because it was really slow and dry. And there's so much emotion. That's another thing about the book. It's a good book. It's just so depressing. And it really takes you back. That's the thing. The writing is good.
Yeah.
It's just maybe not for me because it is so, so depressing. But I feel like I'm there. I feel like I'm in 1935 Nebraska where there's nothing but dirt. I felt like I was in Poland as Germany was taking over when we got to learn from Grandpa's perspective. I felt
Ashley,
like...
Okay,
Please,
so
interject.
Yeah, where we left off, there was a witch who would swallow secrets, and then she loses the secrets, and it was the Dust Bowl, and there's this young apprentice girl or something like that, and now you're saying that there are more characters, and you are not only in Nebraska, but you go across seas. What
So-
happens to the witch?
Honestly, your encapsulation of my summary last week, I'm very impressed with because there was a lot of words, and that is exactly where we left. So now we took off to Poland because so there's another prairie witch, a deposit slip meaning evidence of someone releasing their memory to a different prairie witch years and years and years ago was found. It is
Whoa.
The Apprentice.
Whoa, I'm sorry. A witch gave one of the memories to a different witch?
So the witch, no. Oh, and please remind
See, this is
me
why.
to touch on the murder story. as
Okay.
well.
Wait.
But let's
How
do
many
one
books
thing
are
at
in
a
this
time.
book? Okay, I'm going to be quiet.
18.
What?
No, not really. That's my
Okay.
guess. That's my best guess. It's probably an undershot.
Okay, I'm not going to interrupt again, but I just have to know.
No, please keep because
This is
anybody who's following along because they need to get to the Iron Flame, I don't want to have you fast forwarding if it's not necessary.
no, I have to know. Does the scarecrow come to life?
I think so. I think he's more personified each time, and
Okay.
I think that there's a bright future for him. But so let's just
Is that a Wizard of Oz reference?
Okay.
Oh
Ding,
my
ding, 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 ding. The town, and this helped. But
Okay,
listen,
you guys, she just pointed her finger at me, and it was intimidating.
no, because yesterday when I'm listening to the audiobook, I'm now getting to hear the pronunciations as the author intended, which is really
Oh.
helpful because the town in Nebraska is spelled U-Z. And in my head, I was saying like ooze or like, I don't know what I was thinking, but it is us, which is a lot like Oz. And stick with me. There's some talk about like linguistics and things like that because there is some talk about oh gosh, you guys, this book. So some native language, like Native American language, and how early settlers adapted some of those words, brought in their own words from, Europe. And so there's a lot of talk about language and linguistics. And so when I'm thinking about this, and I'm like thinking about us, and I'm thinking about Oz, and I'm thinking about Kansas, and I'm thinking about Nebraska, and I'm thinking about Scarecrow, I'm like, Karen Russell, are you a big fan of and I'm sorry I don't remember the person who wrote The Wizard of Oz because it is a book too, but whatever. Anyway, so I do think there's some lines to be drawn, some correlations.
Ashley, it seems like this one's just too much.
It's just so much to talk about. So I do want
Yeah.
to talk about a couple things.
Okay.
So, Poland. The grandfather of the apprentice, who's a character, and the father of the uncle, who's a character, was the first generation immigrant who brings the family to Nebraska to begin with.
Okay.
And something I do want to talk about because it stuck with me, and maybe it stuck with anybody who's reading because it's hard for things to stick. There's so much. Back in the 1800s, I don't want to be too specific because I don't remember the exact time, Germany starts to invade Poland and basically take over.
All right.
This is like pre-World War I.
Yeah.
Breaks it up to Prussia, Austria, whatever they do. They come in, or it's already broken up. I'm sorry, read Google. But so anyway, the point is that the Polish people who are native to that area are starting to get their histories and their cultures erased because German is saying, hey, it's all German here now, babies, and you're TERFs, and you have to pay us for the little bit of land that you work, and we're going to give you enough food not to starve, but also you're never going to be able to move upward in society, and you're stuck here, and your kids are getting sick and dying, and we don't care. We'll give you food when we want to. It's bleak. Okay?
Yeah.
It's really bleak. So some American guy comes over, and he's like, hey, guys, looks like it sucks here. Why don't you come over to the United States? We're going to give you some land, and there's nothing but opportunities. Look at this wheat. Look at this beautiful, beautiful wheat you could be growing. You could have this luscious land all for you. Sound like a good idea? And then some people said, yeah, we're all dying and our kids are going to be German now. Like, yeah, let's go. Let's go
Okay,
over
but
there.
back then, though, just a trip alone, like on a ship like that,
Which we do get to hear about once
Right.
they commit.
months and disease and like
Many
it's-
people pass away. It's awful.
Okay.
They get here. It's not all it seems. The land is bare. There's a lot of work to be done.
Native Americans too.
So that's the thing. Once we finally get our land settlement and figure out a little bit of the language, we start to look around and it occurs to us, wait a second, whose land was this?
Oh.
How did we get this great opportunity? Oh, it's those guys who now have to live in that few acres that are caged in over
Jeez.
there. Oh, it's those guys who are getting shot and no one cares and whose people are dying and sick. And now they see the parallels of, oh, what's happening to the Native Americans is exactly what was happening to us.
Right.
And now we feel really bad about it. But guess what? We're here and we're poor. And what else can we do?
And we worked for this.
Yeah, exactly. And
That's an interesting perspective.
it is. This whole story we got to learn from the grandfather, the first generation. See, if you're into history, this is a great book.
Right.
It feels like I'm reading for a class. It really does. And maybe that's not what I want to do in my spare time. But it is. There's a lot of really good here. But like I'm saying, there's just so much. So we get that perspective and we start to understand now how it passes through those generations too. Because when you wake up one day and you look around and you're like, hey, the Black people aren't being treated fairly at all. The Native Americans aren't being treated fairly at all. All of these immigrants are here and it's kind of giving entitled. But really, they went through this process of just going through the motions and they saw like all the unfairness and all the devastation, but it really quickly becomes better you than me because I have my wife who's pregnant. Exactly.
Yeah,
and that's
survival.
what Grandpa says. We're here to survive because his wife has a soft heart and she gets a really good job in one of those schools that they put the Native American children into to, get them off Native American culture onto American culture. So she's having a really tough time. Oh my gosh. And they really tied in the prairie witches by having an old school prairie witch go to those schools and take those cultural memories out of the Indian children, which is so depressing to read about, even though it's not like probably a real thing that happened.
Okay, wait. Okay. I'm going to pause you right there because Karen Russell, you and I grew up in a time where we trust literature.
Sure.
Right? We had a class, everybody had this class in elementary school where you had to sit down and you talked about primary resources and how to know if you could trust what you were reading.
Right.
And looking up a resource and making sure that it was a quality resource.
Mm-hmm. Facts were facts.
Yeah.
As far as
dictionaries were dictionaries, encyclopedias. You had, the news you could trust.
Right.
It was like, this was from the news, and you had that perspective. And now it's like, what? And the reason why I say that is it seems like Karen Russell did her job. And because she's a published author and so much of what she's saying resonates in my mind with my history classes or things that I've learned, I'm taking them as truth and as fact, even though it's fiction, right? So she's inspired to get these perspectives when we also know Karen Russell, unless you're a freaky deaky girl who can time travel, she also did not experience this herself.
Right.
She's imagining what it would be like.
Right.
And I'll be honest, I might enjoy it a little bit more than you because I love historical fiction.
Yeah.
I really, really do. That being said, there's a slippery slope between is this the truth or is this someone's perspective based off of what they learned and what they think they'd feel? Or with the human condition, is it safe to assume? I mean, it also seems like she probably did look at a lot of primary resources to get those feelings of those individuals. But it's still kind of like a slippery slope of, is this a history lesson? Is it not? How much is true? How much of it isn't? And then I just go back to enjoy it, research it if you want to. But I did take an Native American history course when I was in college. I loved it. And I wanted to take it because of my family history as well with the Cherokee. And I wanted to know more about that time because high school, it's like you learn this, you have to learn this, this is what you learn, and then you get out the door.
Right.
And in college, and this is what I always tell kids too, college is where you get to learn what you want to learn.
Exactly.
And I wish more of learning were college-based, honestly.
Yeah.
And I started to enjoy reading again. I started to enjoy learning again, and this idea. And so it was fascinating. But you did learn more about that, like obviously the Trail of Tears, and more so the different groups that have been coming in for many, many years. Pre-colonial, you had a lot of trappers coming over. You had a lot of the Germanic, and there's if you want, you could research history. It's not news. But this idea through world history, then you open it up to the world where there's always been an imperialism. There's always been kings and queens,
It's
people
human
in power.
nature, apparently.
Yeah. And it's like, whose land is whose land?
Right.
And then what does it come to? It almost seems that everybody's on someone else's land by now.
Yeah. And it's just, it changes hands, and this people is marginalized and this people is marginalized. And it's just a cycle, it seems like.
Yeah. And it's worldly.
Yeah. Everywhere.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And still happening.
Yeah. And with Karen Russell.
Sorry.
No, it's okay. It's just that it spot on most of the stuff that you said, because I think that might be why it's taking me so long also to get. And don't get me wrong, you know, we read 200 pages of our book we'll talk about. I read 200 pages of this book. It's just that I do find myself going to fact check a lot of things that I'm feeling like really emotional about, because I'm like, okay, well, I know a lot of this because I did go to school and one of my majors was anthropology, and I did learn a lot about different Native American cultures. A lot of them were more like in the West though, and this is like Plains Indian, so it's kind of new to me. Not new, but just the details. And then she's got, you know, there's, which I didn't touch on and I probably won't until next week, but there's a magic camera. There are these vaults that are taking memories. There's a lot of supernatural. So
it actually sounds complicated.
It is really complicated. And she does a really nice job of introducing those supernatural and, you know, mystical themes into what is obviously some true history. But in my brain, I'm just a thinker who wants to know, okay, which of this is real and which of this is fantasy. So I'm just like Googling nonstop. I actually am learning a lot. Maybe I am like feeling like I'm in school, and that's kind of why I'm like, oh, I'm here to report. But I want to stress, it is a good book to me. Everybody who's on this ride with me, I hope you're just taking it a little bit slower than I am so you can really absorb everything. It's just, there's so much to marinate on. I want to read about the Polish grandpa and then call it quits for the day. But because I'm like kind of doing this within a time frame, I'm like, oh, great. Now I have to learn about these poor Shawnee children in the same day.
It would be easier to digest if it wasn't a binge book.
Yeah, exactly. So I'm going to take that into consideration. And honestly, that's why, you know, we're all kind of new friends and fresh faces here together with me. So I'll learn a little bit more how I want to tackle different reads, and I'm going to adjust. And that's why I didn't keep going, because I thought, you know what, I could finish these last 100 pages. But then I also was like, no, let's just try to slow it down.
Okay.
Let's take it, you know, let's not make this feel like work.
I mean, I honestly was inspired by reading the Southern Book Club's Guide to Vampire Slaying and how they book club. And I caught myself last night under the covers pulling through the pages of Iron Flame and wanting to keep going, but remembering what you told me last week, where it was like, enjoy it.
Yeah.
Like, enjoy it. And I think that's important too. So if we ever talk about something that you guys just want to take a beat on it. And I totally respect that too. I think that when we first started this, we wanted to provide so many opportunities for diving into different books. And that's why we do a shared read and our individual reads, so that if you're not into the Antidote, but you're into Iron Flame, you still have something to talk about. Or if you're not into either of those, but you're into the vampires of the South, you know, you'll have that opportunity also. But it's also okay to take a beat, because life happens. And also, like you said, some books need or deserve a different pacing.
Yeah.
I mean, if it's an intricate book and it has 18 different stories within it,
it feels that way.
It's hard to jump around. And I even find myself doing that with other sources of entertainment, television, right?
Yeah.
Especially, I mean, Game of Thrones was kind of a different beast for me. Even though there's all these stories, I felt like I needed to binge it so I didn't forget the stories in between.
Yes.
However, when you have something like not Yellowstone, like the precursors to Yellowstone, 1884 thing, 1923, that bring in the Native American and bring in the immigrant and the Irish and like these other perspectives. It's kind of nice to marinate in that for a little bit.
Yeah, and it's heavy. I mean, what we can say, no matter which history book you're reading, it's heavy.
Yeah.
So I don't know. Overall, I'm really excited to finish it. And that's another part of me. The actual plot that's happening, I didn't even touch on the murder, and I'm not going to. We'll talk about it next week. But there's also like a murders happening and like a false arrest, and we're
It's
about
not
to expose a sheriff,
Okay.
and there's this magical camera that takes pictures in different times.
See, I'm into that.
There's a lot.
I'm into that.
There is a lot of really good. And I mean, overall, it's just super depressing. So, like, just take it.
Saddest thing. Let's rip it off. Saddest thing you read so far.
I guess there's a scene where one of the Native American children has like this infection going on. They all have tuberculosis. The pregnant wife brings her, because she works at the school, brings her to her husband and says, we need to just please help me get this girl back to her reservation. She keeps running away. She's going to die here. Like, just, it won't matter who takes her. Like, let's just be the ones. And he's like, we're just two people. You know, you need this job. You're going to have this baby. Like, what can we do? They're just going to find her and take her back. She's like, we're two people. We're going to find two more people. And they're going to find two more people to get this girl back. Well, he, and I understand where he's coming from. He chases
Oxygen
her.
masks.
Yeah, exactly. And he chases her down when she starts to run and takes her back to the school. And then, a week or two later, she runs away again. So it's just, but that reading of the wife, like just being like, hey, we're people here. Let's do this. This little girl who's like 8 years old staring up at him, like just wants her family, and she's going to die most likely.
My
And
gosh.
he is also looking at his wife's pregnant belly, thinking like, you make good money here. We're trying to get this baby. They've had a lot of
The
miscarriages.
constant thing of what's the right choice.
So it's just like you said, survival. So that whole scene, I mean, honestly, it's all like that. The whole book is like that, and that's why
Wow.
it's a tough read. But that stuck with me yesterday.
Okay.
So moving on to brighter
Okay.
things.
Antidote, though, that's to fix. Okay, so here's the thing, right? An
Mhm.
antidote is supposed to fix all the harm, right? The disease.
Yeah, it's medicine.
And it sounds
for the
like there's
sickness.
a lot of disease going on.
Yeah.
Does it live up to that name of antidoting it?
Okay, so the Prairie Witch her name is the Antidote, and that's what she goes by. And then she's losing everybody's secrets. I have a feeling, prediction time.
Yeah.
I have a feeling she's going to be a key in getting this murder solved and this bad sheriff
Okay.
repercussions for evil things he's been doing. So it might be the antidote to one
Problem.
of the many problems.
Okay.
Overall, I'd love to see some resolution on a few of the plot lines. So we'll see if there is an antidote.
Okay, last thing, because one thing I learned from the Southern Book Club,
I love them.
is they don't just talk about the books. They talk about, well, obviously their feelings, which I think we do pretty well. But your perspective, what would you have done? And you're a different person, different life, different everything.
Yeah.
What would you if you were in that situation?
Probably the same thing that Harp did, or no, I'm sorry, who was it who did that? Okay, the grandpa. Probably the same thing that the grandpa did, because and he was right. They took the girl back to the school, and she did just run away. So, and I guess in a way they were both right, but like, he just, the risk for the reward, and that's how my brain is. So that's what I'm going to go to.
Yeah,
the risk for the reward was just not there.
Pain.
This girl, and I'm sorry, and I'm sure he was sorry, but her future was bleak no matter what. He's thinking of his wife, his future child. Maybe this is because this is like her third pregnancy. They have no kids, maybe fourth.
Yeah.
So, I would have done what he did.
Well, and you have children, so you know that connection with your
Yeah.
child
yeah.
and what you would do for them.
Yeah.
Anything, right?
Yeah. And my brain
It's like the Titanic.
Exactly. And
Take this child.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. My brain is kind of black and white too, where it's just like, okay, we can save one, but not them all. Like, what's one more? I know that sounds really crazy, but I'm being honest. Like, in that situation, he, to me, did the right thing by taking her back to the school, just because it's like one person's life was at risk, or three.
Karen Russell, what a dick. I'm just going to say it because you knew that.
Yeah.
Because you knew that we would feel that way, just like how painful that is, and you gave it to her.
Yeah. And I mean, there's probably some people who could resonate more with the wife who was like, I see these children every day. This particular one, I just can't. Like, we just need to get her out. Like, these other ones, maybe they're, adjusting a little bit better. This one needs to get back to her family. So I do see her perspective too. She's in it. She's living it. She's seeing these kids every day. But I just coming from, where I kind of think about things, I think I would have done what he did.
Okay. All right, Ashley.
Great question.
Well, no, you're a strong person. I admire you. And I think, I wanted to know what you felt and thought about that.
Yeah. And he even talks about how hard it is. Like he's talking about the physical, like just weight of this child and like what he's doing. His brain is telling him, no, stop. As much as the child is yelling, no, stop. His brain is saying, no, stop. But he's just doing what he thinks he needs to do.
And is he experiencing this after he's been in war? Or is this a different character?
This is a different character.
Okay.
Yeah, he is the one who they were subject to the Germans. He is the one who lived through that. So no, it's the same guy. He just didn't actually physically
sometimes he's
fight.
pulled from his experience too.
Yeah,
Who knows what else yeah. Okay. Well, would you like to put that back in the medicine cabinet?
Oh my gosh, and lock it.
And we'll find out the ending in 5 months.
I can't wait for next week when I can come back and say, in typical Ashley fashion, what a great book. And she really tied that up nicely.
Don't worry. I'm not going to rewind this one. Shall we get into The Flaming Iron?
Yes, please.
I'm excited for you to be excited for me.
We haven't spoken one word about it.
Other than me texting and going, hot damn.
Oh, well, there was that.
Yeah. So, all right, I'll get it out. Moving on
to
Iron Flame.
Something to titillate
Iron
us.
Flame. I like whispering things sometimes. I think it's more than yelling, you know.
Okay. I love it.
So I had to take some notes. I got to chapter 13. As to the point that you made earlier or that we discussed about enjoying a book.
Savor.
Yeah. And so the thing is, it's so good, all of you know this, that you want to keep the adventure going. Like it's binge worthy.
Mm-hmm.
It's totally binge worthy. But at the same time, if you go too quickly, then you're going to just be so sad when it's over.
Oh, yeah.
And I wonder how those Black Onyx friends are feeling right now.
Oh, and it's like, I don't know if there's a date out there for number 4. I haven't looked into it. I don't want to know right now.
Oh, yeah.
But probably pretty empty inside.
I found myself actually like reading this and going, wow, there's a lot of pages. I'm a reader. And then I also found myself going, oh my gosh, I can't wait to get to Black Onyx. I can't wait to get to the end. And then I thought, why? Enjoy the adventure.
Yeah.
So I did have to make some notes just to make sure that I talked about a lot of the things that I wanted to, because I felt the last time when I talked about the conclusion of the Fourth Wing, I didn't really get to mention everything.
Okay. It's hard. There's a lot.
It's hard. There is a lot. But what I can say is right off the bat, first impressions of Iron Flame, Rebecca, girl, good God, she's good. Very enjoyable. It picks up right where it left off.
Literally.
Yeah.
If I remember correctly.
Yeah. And the other thing that I like about it too in this series, hate to keep bringing it back to Harry Potter, but like once you do it, you do it, you know? And it's an easy reference to make. It is when you're in the Harry Potter world, they, very easy. They finish their year at school and then there's a summer break. There's like a break.
Right.
And time passes and then they come together and it's like this recap and everything. But with this series, from the very first page to the very last page of Fourth Wing, it's something. There's always something. There's an adventure. There's a curve. There's sex. There's passion. There's murder. There's death. There's blood. There's fighting. There's gore. There's the human condition. There's
the dragon condition.
Dragon condition, which is even better. There's, what's that mental connection?
Telepathy.
I
was reading it in my brain. That's how my brain works. I can see things before
telepathy, telepathy, hashtag telepathy.
I was going to say telepathic, and then I'm like, wait, that's not it.
I love the same thing. Telepathic characters.
Yeah.
Ew. And this richness, and then that makes you thirsty. And it drops on that cliffhanger with Brennan. So it makes you thirsty for the next book. And yeah, it's like nothing, no time has passed. And literally very little time has passed.
Right.
Because she was waking up and that's what happens. And it's right there. And then the adventure keeps going because you finally get to the graduation, which normally you would anticipate maybe being like in the first book because it's the first year. So you might be feeling in the first book, they're going to complete the year, kind of like that Harry Potter theme. Mm-hmm. Maybe even like, I don't know, I don't know other series that I could reference to right now, but a lot of series do that kind of like, okay, this is a good
nice
spot
break.
to stop, a
Right.
nice break. But this doesn't. It was like cliffhanger, next book, back into it, and then graduation. And that's kind of how it opens up, where the young adults, because they're not kids, right? The recruits, basically, the writers, the 8 of them who have landed in Aracia.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry, pronunciation.
I know. I was going to say, I'm not even going to go there this time.
Now, I have seen, though, that Graphic Audio, the ones who recommended the Southern Book Club and things like that, and Audible, there are versions of ways to listen to it.
Mm-hmm.
And as you mentioned with the Antidote, how you can get the names and the words how the author wanted them to be.
Mm-hmm.
I refuse to do that right now. So if you guys are like diehard Rebecca Yarros and fans, like I like the names that I pronounced in my head. And I'm going to stick with it for a while until, the series comes out or someone's like, get over yourself, Katie. So we're just gonna go with it.
I like it.
So there they are, and then they know that they have to go back, because if they don't go back, and it wasn't even about Sloane, that was my prediction. It wasn't about Sloane. It was about the 107 people with the relics on them, the children, right, of the quote unquote deserters who would be punished,
Right.
Basically,
Right.
And so it is to save others once again. So they have this choice, and they're like, we're going to risk it because it's worth the risk. We're either saving ourselves to start fighting this other war, or we go back and we make an even greater difference.
Exactly.
Yeah. And so they choose to do that, and they make it to graduation. You start to meet these other characters, and just like Rebecca said, it wasn't going to be a big like celebration. It was just a passing of the torch, and then boom, they're second years. Yep. So and that's how it goes. It's like there's no like real big break. There's no summer break. Like there is no break in these books. Yeah. And I love it.
I know. And it's like it's wartime and things are happening and it's going on. It makes it feel sort of real. It's like, oh, we don't just get to be second years and in other cases higher years or whatever. And now we get to like relax.
Yeah. No.
Because guess what? There's some evil out there.
Yeah. I think they got 5 days. And even during that, you get introduced to these other characters who fill Jack's role.
Right.
Yeah. And, literary technique or just how it is in life, there's always going to be that someone. Yeah. And during a time like this, I could only imagine, right? You can never be safe. Yeah. That creates the tension, that keeps it exciting, but also it's to be expected a little bit. Yeah. So there were some other thoughts that I had on it. At the end of the last Fourth Wing, Rebecca creates this pain that Vi is having because she can't trust not only her dragons, because her dragons lied to her, but Xaden, who she fell for so full-heartedly. He became her safe place and her hero, really. And then because they didn't, and this is interesting too, they talk about not necessarily lying to her, but not telling the full truth. Right. And there's that whole thought in there. But she's sticking to her guns, man. Yeah. To the point where she's almost a little too stubborn for me, where I'm like, get over it. Just do it.
It's tough times. We're here now. Like, Brennan's alive. It's great news.
Yeah. Yes, exactly. But at the same time, I kind of also understand it. Yeah. And I really wanted to tell you why, because as they're trying to build back their relationship, there's this idea of, I will give you me, but I can't give you everyone. And that was the whole idea and thought with Taryn and Sagal, and the dragons, basically, as well as these other characters who didn't share everything with Violet. And then, to their point, kind of like your character, you know what's going to happen if you try anyways. Violet was red and she didn't have her shields up, and it's exactly, and it is this weakness. And you could look deep into like some of the context of this book and these themes and these ideas, and you can go, wow, Rebecca was so thoughtful in that. Of course, Violet would have a hard time with that because she doesn't like to be seen as weak. So, so in not trusting her, you're assuming that she's weak, and that plays to her whole mentality and psychology. Or you can just go, it was very natural and understandable, and a lot of times people react this way.
Yeah, exactly. And it's just like, like you were saying, I can give you myself, but not everybody else. There is so much of a larger picture going on.
Right.
We know Dane can like read thoughts or whatever.
Asshole.
We know who your mom is. We know all of this. At certain points, she's still very loyal to her sister, and her sister may or may not be in on everything. And, there's just so much secrecy because that's survival and the next step that, to me, I'm like, okay, yeah, that totally makes sense. Great. Now I'm in the know. Like, I'd love to know more. You can trust me.
and you still don't like Dane. However, Rebecca does a good job of like giving these pained moments where you think he almost wishes he could be who he was.
Right.
And, when you were saying that, it actually made me think of it. I was just talking about, or you were talking about the secrets that everybody has to keep for the greater good. And could that have been truly part of the motive that Dane had in trying to read Vi? Because he's a rule follower, right? So as much as he loves to do that, like he also thinks that he needs to save everybody and follow the rules, and this is how you do it,
right?
To Vi's credit, she still wants to be able to see him as a kid, but all of her trust is broken, which isn't a bad place to be honest, especially with her building herself up and, needing to strengthen herself. So it's kind of a cool moment. That being said, after learning that Rebecca Yarros was military brat in a relationship with a soldier, there are so many things that I can relate to, especially because Casey served in Afghanistan, and we met, not the whole world knows this, but I guess they're about to.
I do.
But we met a few months before she started basic training, and so we've been together ever since. And so that fire that you feel that can get you through those things is very real, and it has to be real to make it through war, and to make it through distance, and to make it through life, essentially, and not being able to know everything that person is doing. So Ashley knows me. I come from a different world in my mind of like, tell me everything. Yeah. Like, tell me everything. I want to know everything. Yeah. I want to be that place for you. I want to be that safe place for you. And so I'm totally relating to Violet because essentially Xaden, sexy, hunky, awesome Xaden, is saying, I will give you me, but there are things that I cannot tell you. Right. And I really feel like Rebecca probably pulled on her personal experience.
Makes sense, yes.
Because there were so many things that Casey couldn't tell me, still can't tell me, for the safety of her family, and for the United States of America.
Right.
Yeah. Because if she had told me and somebody else had found out, like there was so much risk and things that could be jeopardized. And so it is a different lifestyle. And I'm going to be fair, that was during my 20s too, when a lot of that was happening. And very much like Vi, it's hard not to take it personally.
Sure.
And then you feel like, okay, where's this trust? Where's this boundary? Who am I? What am I to that situation? And yet then you understand why. It doesn't make it easier, right? But you understand why. So if there's any military people out there, readers, spouses, family members, who are kind of intrigued at that thought or go, oh my gosh, that's me, pick this book up, because it's gonna hit you there for sure.
Yeah.
So even though it pisses me off, like it's so relatable, and maybe that's why it does.
Yeah, probably.
It hits that nerve. But she does a good job with it, and it's probably because of her experience.
Oh, I have to imagine, because that's not really something that ever even crossed my mind, because it's not my experience.
Right?
And like hearing you just say all that and drawing those parallels, I'm like, oh my God, 100%, totally.
Oh, and I ruthless, just like Vi, like trying to get it out, like trying to like eke it out, because it's like, and then you get to this place where you're like, this really is not about me.
Right.
It's not about me, and this person is loving you with everything that they can.
Yeah.
For your safety and for their safety and for
greater safety.
Safety first.
Yeah.
So anyways, that was something that I wanted to mention because
Resonated much?
it resonated a lot.
Okay.
And, the other thing about that too, though, is that it also helps build back that tension.
Well, there's that.
Yeah, so 100 pages in and there's still no sex, which is fine. Like, I don't want you guys to think like that's all that this book is about or anything like that. But it allows the opportunity to rebuild and focus more on bigger things other than the relationship, which really does help to build the intimacy factor. So I think that's really cool. And then, like I had mentioned, the characters, the Varish character, he comes in, he's set to the school to try to make it harder. And also secretly from Atos. So you have Dane's dad, who arranged the whole attempt to kill Vi, basically, and Xaden and the deserters or whatnot, the rebellion.
Can you remind me, does the Varish guy... Oh, no, I'm thinking of someone else.
He has
his
that
dragon?
Yeah, he has that orange tail who has the one eye.
Okay, yes.
Who... Okay, so here's the other point. She also picks up right off the bat where it's like, oh no, you're still in war and people are still dying.
Oh, yeah.
So the second years are now having the experience of watching first years come and die on the parapet. And then you also have the experience of Vi understanding why the second, third years were so standoffish to her when they showed up. Because you can't get attached. And it reminds you again, don't get attached.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so the orange tail, I think it's an orange tail. I think
you're
orange.
right. Yeah. Because they're also the more, like, they're a little bit more moody, unpredictable, if I remember correctly.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. And basically blast flames at some of the first years who run away, but while they're doing that, blast it in the direction of Fourth Wing.
Doesn't seem like an accident in the time, does it?
Nope, gets Third Squadron, and all of a sudden Kieran's dead.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So, and Kieran was one of the 8. And so it's like, you establish this is part of the crew, here we go, nope, dead. And that wasn't even planned. That was like, and you see it coming, you see it happening. That was exactly.
We were lining up before recess.
Exactly.
Like, that was just.
And Tarn, like, oh, I love it. He then is like, nope. And he basically tells that dragon what's up, and you learn there's a history there.
There is a history. Oh, you can't see me winking.
Can't wait to
if you're not
more.
watching. But there is a history, and I just have to say, because you reminded me, I love when Tarn, whatever, comes in and just reminds everybody who is boss. He's like the most powerful. I'm guessing, I haven't read the third yet, and whatever. But what we know where Katie's at, he is like the most powerful being
and
to
wise.
ever be,
and wise.
And he's old as AF, and he's super wise. I think he knows a lot of. He does know a lot of what's going on. But when he comes in and he does his badass moments. I love those moments. Those are some of my favorite moments in the book. Sexy time or not, when he comes in,
well,
he's
he
just
gets
like,
sexy.
Oh, that is true. He sure does. But when he comes in, and
anybody who doesn't know what we're talking about, that sexy dragon,
so hot, literally and figuratively. No, when he comes and like puts his tail down or his foot down or however you want to say it, I'm just like, oh yeah. Do you guys remember that Vi is connected with the most badass, strongest dragon that ever lived?
Yes, ma'am.
I'm sorry. I got really excited because I totally just haven't thought about it in a while.
And the inner dialogue. I love the inner dialogue. And it's almost interesting because I didn't think about it till just this moment. Her father has passed.
Right.
We're pretty confident that has happened.
I think so too.
Yeah, because even Brennan was like, okay, Dad's dead.
Yeah.
And so the interesting part is Tarn, he kind of is Father Lee, right?
Yeah, he is.
And they kind of have this banter, and they kind of have this wit that goes between, and they teach each other things. But it's almost like Vi, he's proud of Vi too.
Yeah.
And protective of Vi.
Yeah.
And then Andarna.
Yeah.
Frickin', she has grown huge. Love her. And she's in her teenage years. Similar to Baby Groot becoming a teenager. Don't know if anybody is a Marvel fan out there, but
growth spurt.
And her little quips have been really fun so far.
Yeah, I love her personality.
Yeah.
Yep.
And I'm hoping that just as, Taryn's this big badass character, that Andarna's coming into her own.
Yeah.
And please don't spoil it for me, guys. If there's something else that honestly, I don't know. I will lose I will lose it if something horrible happens to her. So I just can't go there.
Okay.
Can't even think about it.
Okay. I don't think you have to.
Speaking of which,
Yeah.
Liam, still sad about it.
Yeah.
And then enter Sloane.
Oh, yeah.
And yeah, that's complicated. I kind of get it. So, now she's kind of looking after Sloane, but then she has her own badass moment, Vi, on the mat at the beginning where this other character comes in this first year who was clearly planted to murder Violet.
Right.
Okay, so we talked about Kieran and we're like, okay, don't get attached. But then Nadine.
That's right.
Holy crap. That moment shocked me to my core. Very sudden. Nadine, who you start to like, Imogen, who you start to love.
Yeah.
Okay. And you start to understand even more. I think Imogen's pretty badass. Don't want to get attached either.
Can I just say without saying much more?
Yeah, please.
When
please.
read, Imogen was giving Casey.
Oh.
So maybe that's
okay, now it makes
why
sense.
you're thinking, okay, so that's all. Shout out.
Shout out. I love it. Yeah. So, anywho, Nadine this first year, like, calls out Vi, and Nadine's like pretending to be Vi. Oh, look at me, blah, blah, blah. And then her neck is snapped.
Yeah.
Like, what?
Yeah.
Also foolish, unpredictable. Good job. I mean, that shocked me.
Yeah.
But also, you're destroying people that you've already formed a relationship. It's Yahtzee.
Yeah, it really is. And if you think
Don't know
about
what
it
to expect.
too, it's just like, well, we're trying to like build an army here, but yet we're really like lives are disposable.
And
it's
killing
just
ourselves.
an interesting thing. Yeah.
It is.
Yeah.
It totally is. But anyways, Vi kills him really well.
Yeah.
And there's blood everywhere.
Oh, yeah.
So much blood. And once again, the introduction, I just love it. It's the same one, if that makes sense. The nonstop thrilling adventure. And then I don't know if this shows up. It definitely doesn't on Audible.
No.
But you have a picture of the organization of the wings and whatnot. So you get more of an idea of how it's organized. And then this other thing that I didn't mention, I really like this because it mentions one of the other characters. There's this it's not a foreword, but it's a little blurb. The following text has been faithfully transcribed from Navarian into the modern language by Jacinia Neilwort, curator of the Scribe Quadrant at Basgiath War College. All events are true, and names have been preserved to honor the courage of those fallen. May their souls be commended to Malik. So Jacinia.
Yeah, I love her.
I love her too.
Yeah.
This she's a badass in her own right. Okay. To be honest, when Liam disappeared at the dance, the last book, I thought he went to go see Jacinia, and I was like, did they hook up? Is she preggers? I don't know.
Wouldn't
My
that be
brain
fun?
went there. Yeah, but probably not.
I guess we'll see.
I guess we'll see. Also, like Jacinia, though, I like her continued addition to that. I hope she lasts. That's like my whole thing. Like, I hope she lasts.
I could be wrong, but I remember seeing that when I started the second book. And I think, let me know, I think if you go back to some of those blurbs at the beginning of chapters in the first book, you'll see her name because you're looking at texts from, the future and when they're going back to recount what's happened. And I could be wrong, but I think so, which is a really fun tie because now we're like, okay, we know her.
Yes.
And she's
and
the
her
one
history.
who did the transcribing. So I'm hoping it's a nice, accurate, because there's a lot of talk of like who writes the history gets to decide how the story goes and who the bad guys are and who isn't. And so it's just kind of a comforting, fun little thing to know.
And
like,
you want to trust her. You feel like you can.
Exactly. And I do. And I'm talking like I do because as far as I know, she's trustworthy. Maybe she turns out not to be. Thanks, Rebecca. I don't know. But it is a fun little touch.
Yeah. I think everybody has a friend like that. I hope everybody has a friend like that. Actually, I would say you're a friend like that to me. Although you'd probably be more like Vi.
I don't know.
I really think so.
Well, Vi was supposed to be a scribe.
True.
So it is cool that she like really clicked with her and she was able to go back to her when she, whatever, they maintained their friendship.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's just they have so much in common and yet now Vi's this whole other person.
I know. I love it. And I was trying to imagine what I would do in some of these situations, obviously. And, I think that's what the writing's really good. I think Violet is still and remains to be kind of this underdog, and you root for her.
Yeah.
And you want to root for her, but you're also rooting for these other ancillary characters, as you mentioned. And but you don't want to get too attached. You feel like you can stay attached to Vi because she's the main character, you know? I still don't know about Xaden, but I love him.
Yeah.
There's just so much to love about him.
There really is.
Yeah. And I'm curious, so a new character, the King's Son, just entered.
Remind me of his name, do you know?
Freckles, red hair. He called himself like Greystone or something like that.
Okay.
He disguised his name, Eric.
Oh,
but it's spelled with an A.
Eric, right?
Yeah, so far we do.
I mean, he seems likable for now, at least. Yeah.
It's like, yeah, let's see.
Yeah. No, he's like another like tall, dark, and handsome. I don't know if he's dark, but like he's supposed to be kind of like swoony.
Yeah, he's a swooner.
Yeah.
He's a swooner.
Yeah.
And then the adults become, I think, more prominent in this book, whereas in the past they were more of like outer characters. But as they become more involved in the war becomes more involved in their lives, and so you also have these adults who you either like or hate, and you know there's dynamics with her mom that are interesting, and we'll see how it develops. But I love it. I'm loving it. Thank you guys. Thanks, Ashley.
Yeah.
All right.
Well, thanks, Rebecca.
Yeah. Thanks, Rebecca. So I put it under, and
which
now
means
we're almost going to.
Oh,
Quick game. Do you want a quick game?
I forgot.
Do-do-do-do-do-do-do.
I hope you guys get as excited about these surprise moments
These
as
index
I
cards.
do, because I just want to, behind the scenes look, breaking the fourth wall. For the most part, I never know what to expect when Katie pulls out her flashcards.
Hey, look at whoa! What's under here? What's over here? Okay, so we're gonna play a little word association.
Okay.
And I'm really excited
I
about
need
this
some
because
coffee
as I was
again.
writing these cards, Ashley looks over and goes, "Are we playing word association game?" I'm like, "Absolutely." Okay, so Ashley, we're gonna get through all these cards, hopefully,
Okay.
and it's your first instinct response.
Okay.
So I'm gonna say a word, and you just boom, first thing that comes to your brain.
Episode 5, Badass Book Club podcast gets canceled.
Gets canceled. Oh yeah. Okay,
I'm just kidding. No, I'll be honest.
We did say that this was not for kids. I mean, obviously, the books. So if you are listening, then please stop. Yeah.
Okay, go ahead.
But however, everybody else, I want you to also think about these and what would be yours. Okay, so here we go. Ready?
I think so.
We're gonna start with a softball,
Okay.
but I'm gonna go faster. Okay.
Okay.
Okay. Ashley, are you ready?
Yes.
Take a sip. Take a sip.
I just did.
Okay. I gotta take a sip. Hot latte.
ASMR.
Okay. On your mark.
Okay.
Get
my
set.
heart's beating. Stop.
Books.
I want to say books. Books. Badass books. Which I know is not how this game is supposed to go, but I hear a theme song. I'm sorry.
Okay, that's great. So theme song. Okay, so Ashley, let me remind you
I
of how
know
this
how
game
word
plays.
association works, but like anytime anyone anywhere says books, I can only think of our amazing intro. And I'm
I
sorry.
like books.
Going forward, I will follow the rules.
Okay, limit it to maybe 3 words.
One word. I think I can promise.
Okay, let's try it again.
Okay.
Charleston.
North Carolina is 2 words.
Yeah, that's fine. This is up to 3 words.
Okay.
Latte.
Vanilla.
The South.
Oh. Confederate.
Magic.
Black.
Ooh, sexy.
Flames.
Literature.
Cozy.
Booklight.
Needed.
Glasses.
Love them.
Dust Bowl.
Jeez, boring.
Dragons.
Tarn.
Katie.
Lover. Oh, wait. Well, I was about to say also green M&M. I know it's too many words. I'm sorry.
Murder.
Knives.
Ashley.
Knives.
Romance.
Romeo and Juliet.
Thriller.
Michael Jackson.
Okay. Tea.
Hot.
Vampires.
Teeth.
Book club.
Badass.
Rats.
Fangs.
TCBY treats.
Vanilla. Again.
Midnight.
Romance.
Inner thigh.
Bites.
You did it.
Okay, some of them were good. Some of them was fun.
Okay. And that's a little game I call word association. All right, there we go.
Oh my gosh. Well, such a good segue, wasn't
Such
it?
a good segue because there were some relevant terms.
Mhm.
Shall we?
I
Let's
think
go
we
south.
shall. Where to begin?
Oh my God. Sorry.
I like it.
Yeah, that's where I begin. Okay, I wish I moved my phone because I wanted to be polite to everybody in the book club.
Okay. Do you need it?
Well, I was just going to share with them all the texts that I sent you as I was reading this.
Oh, there were plenty.
There were plenty.
Yeah.
There are lots of moments in this.
Somewhere along the lines of, holy shit, did you get to page 200? Like, that was just the summary.
Yeah, okay, let's get in. Loved it.
Okay, so
Oh, wait, we're not done. Sorry.
and that's a wrap.
That's a wrap.
Okay, so I will start out by saying that the characters, I mean, this is building up to something, okay? This started out as a nice...
Quick pause for those listening, because we're holding up the book.
Yes.
We are referring to The Southern Book Club's Guide to Slaying Vampires,
Yes.
a novel by Grady Hendrix.
Correct.
Yeah, okay, there we go.
That was good idea.
And last week we decided page 200.
Yes.
Yep.
So page 1 to 200 and then a little bit of whatever he had to say in the beginning. But we started out as a nice little group of women at a book club that wasn't fun.
Losers. Or
Yeah.
no, they weren't losers. It was just lame.
Yeah, it wasn't a good time. There was a strict guide. It wasn't intriguing to a lot of the members. It was kind of like uptight and stuffy.
Yeah.
And oh, Patty.
To be honest, I learned a lot about book clubs. I realized I didn't know a lot about them.
Honestly, it's good that we read this early on. We're taking some notes.
Yes, we are.
And we're seeing what else is out there. And it's good to see some other perspectives because we have 2 book clubs in this book. The one that we didn't stick with. And
Not my vibe.
And then the one that's more our vibe.
Love it.
And I do want to start out by saying, too, because there are characters that we love. One of the texts that I sent to Katie in the beginning is, I might be Patricia Campbell.
Yeah.
It's hitting hard. It's resonating. I'm relating.
Kitty.
I knew. And it's not just because your guys' name is the same.
Meow.
Kitty cat over here.
Eating those Cheetos.
Yeah, I'm just like having a hard time organizing my thoughts because I really, everything that Patricia was going through, like she didn't read the book. She's super nervous. Her kids are making her busy and she doesn't have time to do this for herself. And, there's all this going on before she even gets to her first book club meeting where she's supposed to present.
Right.
And then there's just all these other things going on. She's trying to keep the house tidy. She's trying to do this. She's trying to do that. She seems super well-intended and she's just doing her best. And she's living in a town where, people are watching what everybody else is up to and judging.
Yeah. And I think there's an interesting perspective of housewives. And it's very interesting because Grady... Okay, so it's real. I love it. At the beginning last week, I said the dedication, but the author's note was striking.
Yeah.
It hooked me. It was basically the author's note and the prologue. It was talking about how he had already written a story of the perspective of kids during the time. And so he wanted to go back and write it about the hardworking moms. And being a housewife is hard work and all the different jobs and perspectives. And he wanted to do that justice.
And I really appreciated his POV writing for that character because he's a man.
Okay, that got me too. It felt like he knew them and he represented women really accurately, I think.
I think so too. So far, so good. And he was even able to create, which we can talk about specifics as we go along, but one part that really stuck with me is how pissed off I was at Carter when he opens his big dumb mouth when James Harris is over.
Betrays his wife, essentially.
Yeah, and it's just like, he even sticks to his guns and is like, oh, well, we needed to get it out there. Like, he sees the dread on her face,
right,
I imagine.
yeah.
And it's just like...
And and you get the sense too, the audacity.
Yes, that's
because
a perfect word.
He's not present.
No.
He's not present and he should be trusting her. Wow, so many themes right now.
No.
In our books. And he lets her down in the worst way, but also this is a big steal.
Yeah.
She saw. Okay.
Yeah. Where should we start? Because there.
All right. So back to the prologue.
Okay.
Okay. We're going to get back to the prologue because basically the end of the prologue says, and by the time this story is over, they will be covered in blood. Some of it will be theirs. Some of it will belong to others, but they will drip with it. They will swim in it. They will drown in it. And you go, ooh. And then you start these book clubs and you're like, okay, where's the blood? And then you have these jarring moments. Should we just like walk through the moments?
I think we should. And it's something just as far as the writing style goes, I really like because I was never bored, but there was a lot of just this lifestyle. And I appreciated learning about it. The characters are interesting and developed enough to where like even these sort of, I won't call them lulls, but compared to the jarring descriptions that we will get to, it was just sort of like the calm, southern breeze or whatever of the way that he's writing. And I love that. And then all of a sudden, I felt like I was reading a different book.
Yeah. And the imagery in both of those scenes and sceneries, the jarring ones and then those peaceful ones and then the way that the summer and the heat and you just feel it. So we it's fun. We didn't grow up in the South at this time, unless you count Southern California. Southern California, a different breed. We also very hot summers. We know what that feels like. It's dry though, so it's really different. But during the time, we grew up same time. So for me, and if you were a child in the 90s, 80s, 90s.
Stranger danger.
But also there was a little bit more freedom. Like, I remember doors being unlocked now.
Oh, totally. And kids on the street.
Kids on the street playing, even past dark a little bit.
Yeah.
And there were no phones. There was this trust.
Yeah. You could go to a friend's house and, no one thought you were missing.
No, not at all. And, there was this, it was the war on drugs too, though. And you were like, okay, like drugs, bad guys, which is still very, very much the same.
Right.
But there was this easygoing freedom. And then you have the mentions of different cultures, the types of phones, the cordless phones, the phones with cords. You have the TCB white treats. That's why I brought it up.
Right.
You have, the cleats and the feeling of living that life, that easy life that is juxtaposed so well by Grady Hendrix into these other dark moments. And you see the town start to fall apart.
Yeah.
Like, just completely.
Yeah.
And, I mean, the one thing, though, that even with these moments, though, up to page 200, and there's no, like, real vampire. So I'm like, vampire's lying.
Right. And it is, I mean, obviously we're all on the same page as Patricia. Like, James Harris is most likely our vampire. She thinks she saw him. In moments, nobody feels like they believe her. She must be tired or it's, not very well lit and this and that, which to me was like mind-boggling. Like, come on. Are you kidding me? Why would I make this up? But I'm waiting for the ball to drop for it to be like Carter or something. Like, I mean, all signs point to James. And we even have the mother-in-law giving that backstory about the missing children back in her day, and she recognizes James as this Hoyt character. So all signs point to we know who the vampire is, but we don't actually have that.
Oh, because Carter hasn't been home a lot.
I don't think he's really the vampire, but
because what about the retracting thing?
No, but just in my brain, I'm just like waiting for there to be like some sort of a
shoe to drop.
Yeah, I'm not saying Carter's the vampire. He's a psychiatrist and he's trying to get to the head of the hospital.
You do wonder if he's cheating, though.
He is such a ding dong that I want there to be something about him that we can really dislike.
Do you think he's cheating?
Maybe.
I don't know. Patricia keeps like skirting on it, but doesn't think so. And there's been a couple moments where Carter shows up for her, but at the same time not.
Yeah.
I don't know.
There's got to be something. And maybe there's not, but there's got to be something with Carter. Maybe I'm just really mad about the dinner.
Yeah. He didn't trust her. I mean, maybe that's a big enough shoe,
Yeah. So anyway.
Okay.
I digress.
Okay. So the first immediate jarring thing to me. So Patty's going outside to the trash cans, and you think like, oh, the raccoon's gotten in the trash cans.
So much has happened. I totally forgot about
Yeah,
that.
that was the first real part. So we get through the book club thing. They get past the pretentious one. They kind of start their own little one. It technically had already been started by some of my favorite characters, and they invite Patty into it. And it's just, okay, so things about book club. Apparently you choose one book a month. Sorry.
It's making more and more sense as I read.
Each person presents their own findings on the book. Kind of.
Okay.
Yeah. But then also, they imagine what they would do in those situations.
Which I like.
Yeah, I do like that. Point and snacks.
Yeah.
To be fair, we're not going to eat snacks in front of you. At
You're
least
welcome.
I'm not. I don't need. I'm horrible. I drop stuff everywhere. I mean, I try.
We'll
I think I
save
try
that
too hard.
for the Patreon.
We're saving that. Okay. I already exposed my feet, so if you're watching this, everybody listening is like, what? Okay.
Head over to YouTube.
So they're out there. She's out by the trash cans, and all of a sudden, the cranky old lady neighbor
Mrs. Savage
has a decapitated possum head in her lap, and she's eating its intestines and looking up at Patty. Yeah.
Well, she doesn't just look, though, does she? She's caught in the headlights, and
she starts to crawl.
And the imagery, the imagery, thank you, Grady, it's
great.
He does such a great job, though, of like describing what's going on. And then we also have these like matter-of-fact sort of like, the conscious thoughts that are going on.
Yes.
And I love the back and forth of that. And it really, it's different, but like Grace and Patty have this sort of dialogue that goes back and forth really matter-of-factly, but it's so hilarious.
Oh,
and
gosh,
then Patty has those same sort of thoughts in her head.
Yeah, where she's like doubting herself.
Yeah,
like,
and she's like, what's going on? Okay, this is happening.
Which, to be fair, like if I were in a situation like that, I mean, I'd probably be scared out of all reason. But at the same time, you would be trying to justify it in your head, like, because every scary thing that you read, you are like, I'm just reading it.
Right.
What do you do in those moments? Like, what would you do if an old lady down the street who was a cranky broad is eating a dead possum in your trash with blood dripping down their face and then starts crawling on top of you and bites your earlobe off?
Yeah.
So, Ashley, what would you do?
Well, I'm thinking of this as you're saying it. We also have the benefit of like being 30 years in the future, like future times. So, like, honestly, if a zombie sort of thing, and that's kind of what I would equate that moment to, it's like, oh, I have a zombie in my trash can. Like, I've had just so much zombieism, Dracula stuff. All this talk of like apocalyptic sort of stuff that is going on. I'm prepared for something like that to happen. Patricia grew up in the South. She's she was a nurse, so she's seen some things, but like her brain, I don't necessarily is going to go to, oh man, this woman's trying to eat me.
Yeah. Oh, good point. Because they had like old horror movies, and only if you engaged in that.
The most safe town where nothing bad happens, and her mind does sort of go medical because she does have that nurse background to where she's like, there's something wrong with Mrs. Savage that's causing her to want to bite my face.
Yeah.
So it's a different time and a different perspective. If that happened to me nowadays, I'd be like, Annie, get your guns.
Good point. Oh, I didn't even think about that.
But like in that moment, I feel like I would be so ready to not investigate.
To the point where she feels sorry for James Harris when Mary Ellen, no, not Mary Ellen, Miss Jane?
Savage?
Savage, yes. You said it, and I completely
No, it's okay, because it's that same thing where the name is trying to evoke something.
Right. Okay, good. Yeah, so Savage is Savage.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you. Mm-hmm. She even feels sorry and tries to take a casserole to James Harris, enter James Harris, who is sketched the whole time.
Yeah.
Is sketched the whole time, but because, like you said, it's set up so well, you kind of trust him too a little bit.
She keeps giving everybody, or not everybody, James the benefit of the doubt for the situation. There's an explanation.
I love how the book club starts reading about murderers, though, and that comes into play.
Yeah.
Because she starts thinking like you think, Ashley.
Exactly.
Yeah, and so she starts having these doubts, but then she's like, we need to do this. We need to like think, and that's how she convinces everybody. Once she goes to Mrs. Green's and sees, okay, also extremely jarring. There's 2 other scenes that were jarring to me.
The rats.
3 then.
Oh, what were you going to say?
Yeah, okay. We have to talk about the rats. I was going to talk about the man on the roof.
Oh, yeah.
Because that could be real. It was realistic, but also who could get up there? Vampire. But we're doing that. Like, if we didn't know the title of this book, would we just jump to that?
Probably not.
Yeah, we'd be like, what's going on in this town? To your point about knowing things and having a different perspective. And so it was the hand and her seeing the hand. First, she's doubting everything, and then she sees the hand off the roof. I mean, I would do what she did, running through the house, protecting the children, turning off the lights. And then the rats invading the basement.
That was crazy.
And then we end with her seeing basically James, this poor little girl at the edge of town, right? Other part of town. Destiny, again with these names, is in James' van. She blinds him with the light. And it is so, the imagery of the blood. And this is what's different though. My idea of a vampire doesn't scream like cockroach protruding thing that's sucking blood.
Whatever that mechanism is. Me neither. I'm thinking teeth.
Alien.
Oh, well, yes, that sounds more like Alien. But when I'm picturing James, I'm picturing, he changes and little teeth pop out like a normal vampire. But I do kind of like the twist. Just because now it's like more explainable, like it's this appendage that comes out and he's looking totally normal, like when he comes over for dessert every frickin' day.
Okay, yeah, okay. So we got to talk about it, talking about what other characters do. Because then she has to see him. She knows that she has to see him, that he only suspects that she caught him, right?
Right.
And he's at the dinner table. Carter blows it.
So annoying.
But what would you do? Would you invite him in?
So she's got this whole Southern hospitality thing that is just so ingrained in her because, again, my POV in this day and age is, I mean, I do see how she wants to stay on his good side and in his good graces and not get her kids
and play the game
eaten or whatever. So I do see that side. But I also, it's hard to say what I would do. I just feel like I'd like to think that I'd be a little bit more like, not today, James. Like, I need a minute, you know? It's so close to when that all happened.
And Grady does such a good job of getting into those feelings.
Yeah.
So uncomfortable.
So I do see why she did what she did, and I can't, and I will never forgive Carter for opening his big ding-dong mouth and doing manly things. Just being like, throwing his wife under the bus. Like,
and not all men do that. That's not,
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I shouldn't have put it that way, but a certain type of manly thing.
Yeah. No, I totally understand.
Yes, thanks for clarifying.
Yeah.
But it's just, I'm just still obviously so frustrated by that whole conversation.
Yeah, I am too. But perhaps that is the perspective that he gives, because in his he also does this. He takes the definition of a housewife from the 1971 Oxford English Dictionary Compact Edition. And I'm taking this at face value. I'm trusting you, Grady. I didn't go and look for what that meant. And it's described as a light, worthless woman or girl.
Yeah.
And so we're not, you know, when you talk about Carter and in that moment, it's closer to that perspective, because that was only like 20 years off, 10 years off.
Yeah. And she, you know, she's like angry with him and everything like that, but it's not like a deal breaker. She's just moving on with her life. Like, oh, it's Carter opening his mouth again. Like,
but then I'm pumped. Yeah. Because then she's like, okay, if this is my station, if this is who I am, if this is how I'm going to be treated, I'm going to rally the troops.
Yeah.
And we're going to go slay some vampires. We're going to protect our town. And the moment where the book club, and it was so perfect where we left off, because it is that moment where she is trying to rally the troops and you almost think it's not going to happen. And instead of telling them about him being a vampire, because she knows well enough that nobody's going to believe that, she makes it about drugs and the book that they read about Ted Bundy.
Brilliant.
Yes.
Because what's more scary than drugs and your children in the same town.
Yeah.
And it was so perfect that they were reading The Stranger Beside Me because the stranger's beside them.
Yes.
And thank goodness, because
Very
I
clever.
was really like, oh no, Grace, I love you, but you're really going to ruin this. And where's Patty going to turn? I'm like, is she going to start a new book club over at 6 Mile? Like, what's going to happen? Because
or is she going off on her own? Like, which characters are going to hang in there?
Yeah, exactly. But then who comes to save the day with her Bible in hand?
Slick.
Yeah, and that moment was awesome.
It was priceless.
Yeah.
Because she's like, it's not just our duty as mothers, it's our Christian duty. And I've been waiting. The fact that she's
Her whole
like,
life.
I've been waiting this my whole
Her calling.
life. It's her calling to fight evil. And she always knew that it kind of existed. So you kind of get that, that vibe a little. And Grady does talk about how this is his hometown.
Yeah.
So
He knows these people.
He knows these people. And it's fun. It made it fun. And I'm ready. I was like, I'm glad we said to stop at 200 because I wanted to keep going.
Yeah. And just a quick little aside with Slick, because they've even said, we feel sorry for her. She's just kind of, I don't want to say she's like a doormat or anything, but she's a little more quiet. She just, in her relationship with her husband,
she wants to do right.
Exactly.
Like she has
just so, and she has a box that she's fitting herself into. And now her box gets to include her fight against Satan, and it just happens, and drugs. And it just so happens that, Patty's able to sort of manipulate the situation for the good.
Yeah.
And it's just beautiful to see her like empowered.
And I can't wait to see the imagery and the events that happen to those girls as they discover who James really is.
Yeah. So quick, because we're, coming to a close and whatever.
We ran a little late, but we love it.
Who gets to however they do it, I don't know. Maybe it's a team effort. Who's your prediction on who actually gets the knife in the chest? Like, we're slaying vampires at some point. Well, how's it happen, or who's doing it?
I think there's going to be blood everywhere after what we've already read. Well, and the rats, we barely touched on the rats, but if you're reading along, it is horrific. I actually ended up Googling, do rats kill people?
Do they?
Not really.
Okay.
Like maybe through disease and only if they're attacked.
Okay.
So that's good to know, but it actually had me Googling that. I was like, have there been cases
even Mrs. Green remembers her sister getting attacked by one as a child, so I'm just like...
And maybe swamp rats are different.
Yeah,
like they're
maybe.
big. Okay, terrifying.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yucky, gross.
The mother, the blood, the biting off of the nose, the face.
The dog.
Being ripped apart. Oh,
ragtag.
I'm glad he survived, though, because Grady, you almost lost me.
I know. I was really like, is this necessary? I loved when he was like trying to help, but...
Yeah.
Anyway.
Okay, so I think everybody's going to get hurt.
Everyone's going to get hurt.
Yeah, there's going to be blood everywhere. I think and hope that they kill the vampire or vampires. I mean, I don't know what's going on.
It's hard to say.
I hope there's more, though. I mean, because it did take to get halfway through the book. Yes, jarring things, but no real vampires yet. Like, let's slay them. Come on, the book club slain. Let's slay them.
Like, we're just now on the defense.
And maybe there's going to be an event where they like find out that he is, and then they start reading some of those other vampire books to figure out how to do it.
Okay, yeah, because we've already, like, there are some traditional tropes that we've met, like the whole inviting him in and that kind of thing. Like, maybe there's a special dagger that they can find, or maybe, who knows.
I do think that Patty's going to be important. I think Kitty's going to be funny, and I think Slick is going to have something important happen.
That's what I'm hoping. Like, I kind of, just from that moment, I want her to be the one who, like, figuratively, like, pulls the trigger or something. But, when you say someone's going to, I don't know, what if we lose someone?
I don't want to. At least none of the book club members.
Okay.
I wonder if the original Marjorie is going to come back into play.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah. Well, tell us your predictions.
Please.
Instagram us, you guys. Or TikTok?
Yeah, please.
Talk our tick.
Badass Book Club podcast.
I believe that's all the time we have for now.
It is. So we'll be finishing this book up. I will be finishing, my all-star greatest favorite.
Can't wait, Ashley.
Piece of work. And we're going to see how far you get because, again, slow burn. You don't need to rush it. There's plenty to talk about.
Fast, slow. We'll see how far we go. We'll give you guys the heads up, though. And look out because I think we're going to be posting some merch, too.
Yeah, it's going to get really exciting. We can't wait to share.
Oh, my gosh. I love today. Thank you, badasses.
Thanks, guys.
And thank you, Ashley.
Thank you.